All right, guys, the moment everyone has been waiting for, introducing my Glute Lab, Fort Lauderdale. Here's my favorite thing about my gym. Whenever I move to a different city, this happened in San Diego, and now it's happened in Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. This isn't to just say everyone copies me. I think a lot of gym owners aren't familiar with good glute training equipment. So when I move to the area and I get all of the influencers to start training with me, all the gym owners follow those influencers and those lifters, and they get exposed to all this amazing equipment that they've never seen before. So just being familiarized with the equipment and then knowing you gotta stay competitive, you gotta get good glute training equipment, because the women are speaking their minds. The bros get all their quad and hamstring and pec and delt and back and arm machines. Women are speaking their minds. They're saying, look, we want glute equipment. And so in San Diego and Florida, the glute machines have exploded. Seriously, every gym now has a hip thrust machine, abduction machines. I'm seeing BC strength equipment everywhere. I'm seeing booty builder and glute builder equipment everywhere now. So I'm very excited to show off my gym. Come on in. All right, guys. Currently, there are 6 bays, all right? Bay 1 is the hip thrust room, all right? This is the BC Strength Thruster Pro. This is the best plate-loaded thruster on the market, in my opinion. Most people will agree. I'm gonna explain how I came up with this. But yeah, the BC Strength Thruster Pro, this gets used actually the second most here. What gets used the most is Thruster 3.0 with the rotisserie or the rotary attachment. This is the squad favorite. All my girls in Fort Lauderdale are doing this. It's their favorite thing to thrust off of. Interestingly, this is the Thruster 2.0, and it is not as popular. My San Diego squad, like here's Carly. This is Carly hip thrusting 765 back in 2020. They all learned off the 2.0, the standard way to hip thrust, but all the girls here like the 3.0 with the rotary attachment. They love the rotating back pad. I don't like this. I only use the Thruster Pro, but they love this. So we've got the Thruster Pro, we've got the Scorcher. Now this Scorcher was my very first invention. So this is not sold anymore. Sornex made this for me. This is from 2006. This is my very first hip thrust invention. This is very similar to the device on my patent that I applied for back in 2006. So yeah, this here is the very first hip thrust apparatus ever made. Well, this isn't the exact one. I had Sornex remake it for me. But we stopped selling it because it's a very clunky piece of equipment. But let me tell you, back in the day, my girls did 3 different types of hip thrusts off of it. They did single leg where they used the handles. And I would still say this is the very best way to do single leg hip thrusts. You're so stable, but you can go so deep and have so much range of motion. So for single leg, it's the best. But we also did band with these guys. We take the handles off. We do band hip thrusts and barbell hip thrusts. But the barbell hip thrusts were complicated because we had to have someone on each side. So you had to have 2 trainers, 2 spotters, pick the weight up. The client would slide underneath, set the weight on their lap. They'd do their set, and then we'd hold the weight, they'd slide out, and then we'd drop it. From 2006 to 2008, that's the way we hip thrusted. We never used a standard bench. I didn't come up with a standard bench method until I was writing my ebook and I wanted to show the masses how to hip thrust. That came in 2009. At my first gym lifts, it was in Scottsdale and Gainey Ranch, from, like I said, 2006 to 2008. Everyone hip thrusted off of the Scorcher. I call this the Scorcher with a K. This was the first exercise that everyone did. When they came in, they'd use the Scorcher, they do either band, single leg, or barbell, and then they move on to their other exercises. Okay, moving along. This is not a hip thrust device. This is an old school hammer strength unit, but I actually modified this, okay? So this is their hip and glute machine, and I'm gonna show you the Rogers unit. They improved upon it right here. However, I modified this so that it only goes down to about right there. So you can't get full hip extension. But look at the torque. Look at this giant lever arm. This is hardest in the bottom position, okay? Okay, so you slide in it, and it's this crazy amount of torque in deep hip flexion. So we use this to strengthen glute strength in deep hip flexion. In my opinion, there's nothing better than this. Well, arguably you could say like a reverse lunge. The problem is, think of like the bottom of a leg press. Some people get lower back pain because they butt wink. Well, this is like that on steroids, because probably 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3 people maybe love it. They're like, This is one of my favorite glute machines. And then the other 1 out of 2 or like 2 out of 3, they just feel it all in their low back. And they'd probably get injured if I had them keep doing it. So I never manufactured it. I thought it was a great idea. I keep it here. I do it myself sometimes. I have a few clients that do it, but this doesn't get used that much just because it irritates some people's low back. Some people say make shoulder pads, make a belt, do it one leg at a time. I tried it one leg at a time, I don't like it. But in theory, this was gonna be the greatest glute exercise for working that deep stretch position. And it works well, but there are flaws with it. So we didn't move forward with the production of it. Like I said, it was a hammer strength. I elevated this. We don't use this. This was their old lever arm. It was just easiest at the bottom position and then hardest at full lockout. We made this whole new lever arm such that it would reverse the torque angle curve and make it hardest in the stretch, easiest at the lockout. All right, this is actually the hammer strength glute drive. And this is what I used to make the BC strength prototype. So if you look here, this is their old foot plate. All I did was make the foot plate a lot bigger, and this way it's closer to the back pad so it accommodates shorter individuals. I have 2 clients here that are 4'10", and it works fine for them. I'm 6'4", I put my feet in the middle. This would work for people who are even probably 7 feet tall. So hammer strength almost nailed it. They almost made the perfect device. They had 2 flaws. Number 1, they needed a bigger foot plate. And number 2, their plate pegs only come out to about right here. You can only put 4 plates on. That would be, the hip thrust is like a leg press. You can use a lot of plates. So that would be like having a leg press machine with a plate peg this big. Everyone would be frustrated. So people who buy the hammer strength are pissed. They're like, why can I only load 4 plates on? So we made the plate peg way longer, and you can actually fit 10 plates on here. We've never had anyone do 10 plates, but I have had a couple strong bros in here do 8 to 9 plates for low reps. That's what I did, and we used this in my Las Vegas house for like 2 years, and everyone loved it. And then eventually we made the BC Strength Thruster Pro, but this was the first prototype for it. Moving on, this is the Body Masters low back machine, okay? Now, if you look at this, they say it's low back, but check this out. That's a hip thrust. Turn that aside and that's a hip thrust, okay? That's bent leg hip extension. So I did this back in the late 90s and early 2000s. I was using this machine, and I was like, man, this is actually a glute machine. This is hip extension. This is not back extension, this is hip extension. But the problem is if you're a big guy, like I could do the stack for so many reps, but this is what you put your feet against. It only comes to right here. And yeah, if you're wide, if you're big like me, my legs slide off of it. But it was an awesome unit. I had it here, and I was actually overloading the negative because I could push on this and have enhanced eccentric, bent leg hip extensions. Back in the day when I first opened Glute Lab, I was using this a ton. However, my friend Arturo, he's the owner of Glute Builder equipment, he made it even better. So that's right here. I'm gonna show you that in a second, but first I'm gonna show you the Glute Builder glute drive or Glute Builder hip thrust, okay? So Arturo made this. This unit is really innovative, okay, because it has the shoulder harness, so you can push back against it. It also, look at the foot plate. It's angled out so that you naturally externally rotate, and it's like a moving Smith machine. It moves vertically and horizontally. A lot of my girls love this, but this is what's so funny about women. Hip thrusts are the female equivalent of the bench press. Let me explain. With bench press, bros get so pissed, like if they have a unit that they can only load like 1 plate on each side, and it's less than what they bench with a barbell. This is really hard to hip thrust off of, like 3 plates. Like I use 3 and 4 plates per side, but on like the hammer strength or the Nautilus glute drive or the BC strength, I might use 5 or 6 plates. A lot of my clients will be like, I like this, but how come it's so hard? How come I can only do 2 plates on it? And I'm like, who cares? Does it work your glutes? You feel it like in your glutes? Yes, I do. But they like moving weight. And it's like hilarious. In general, women don't care about weight as much as men do, but they do with the hip thrust. They want to move some serious load, and that cracks me up. But they like the glute builder. But I would still say that the BC Strength Thruster Pro, they like a little bit more. So I would say the Thruster Pro is the best plate loaded device, followed by hammer strength. And then probably you've got this glute builder unit. There's a booty builder plate loaded unit. There's several others, but where Glute Builder did nail it though is with this device. This is their kneeling glute isolator, and this is just like the Body Masters, but significantly improved upon. So what Arturo did, he made this longer, he made this pad rounded. He made the range of motion go a little deeper, and he made the lever arm so that it's really heavy at the bottom, but you can also attach bands and overload the lockout. So when you get in here and do this, it feels just like a hip thrust. It's bent leg hip extension, except you're not using your quads. So it takes the quads out of it. So all you feel on this is like you feel mostly glutes. You might feel a little bit of adductors and hammies, but yeah, this is an awesome glute machine. There's a learning curve to it, but my girls love it. I like using bands on it and really emphasizing the squeeze because I will use this unit for the stretch position. This is the Rogers Pendulum Reverse Glute Ham. Now there's a learning curve to this too. This is this giant machine. It's annoying because if you want to order these, they're like, I don't know, at least 6 months backed up. It might even be longer now. It's this giant machine. They make equipment for athletes. However, what we do is you got to put a lot of padding on. The thing about this whole room is you always need padding here, like on each one of the devices. You need padding to keep your hips in place or to move the bar for hip thrust. So you need more padding than what this provides. My girls get really strong at these, and we put an extra padding just like we use for everything. You can't just use the belt on these guys. In fact, some of my girls will even double up. They'll use extra padding on the belt and even more padding than that. When you got women thrusting 5-6 plates per side, they tend to bruise, they can get scrapes, so we're all about the padding here. Anyway, we use extra padding, but a lot of times here we just do the bottom position. We just do length and partials to work the stretch. You can do this for a full range of motion, but we loaded up extra heavy and just worked the stretch position. The only problem with that is you need a spotter to help you rack the weight. The last thing I want to talk about here is the standing booty builder, the standing hip thrust. I don't like it that much. Some of my girls like it, but it's nice because sometimes it's just nice when you're bored and sick of hip thrusts, you can do this instead. It was genius in design, but it just doesn't feel quite as good as normal hip thrusts. Nevertheless, a lot of people like it. I do want to mention our PR bell, okay? I have this in San Diego, I have this in Florida. Whenever a PR is set, someone will say, ring that bell. And it centers people on setting PRs, on gaining strength. So if you're a gym owner, you should have a PR bell too. Okay, so I also have all my bands here. Here's all of our glute loops. These are mostly all BC Strength bands. But yeah, what I love about hip thrust is you can add load to the lockout if you want, because you can hip thrust 3 times a week. Sometimes you want to emphasize the lockout even more. When you come into Glute Lab, if you're new here, all right, and it's your first time here, I'll say to make it easy, do one thing in this room, because this is the hip thrust room. Do one thing in that room, because that's the quad or like squat lunge room. Do one thing in this room, because this is the hamstring or like the hinge or leg curl room. And then do 2 things in this room, because this is the kickback and abduction room. So now I'm gonna take you through our kickback and abduction equipment. So the first thing I'm gonna show you is this glute builder kickback. This is my favorite kickback. It moves you through such a large range of motion. It's amazing. Yeah, Arturo nailed this. It's my favorite kickback machine. Can't say enough about this unit. The women love it. So if you're a gym owner looking for a good kickback machine, Glute Builder is the favorite. Next up, we've got the Snow Angel machine. Everyone wants to know the brand. I don't even remember the brand. This is Fettel. Here's the deal. They modeled the hammer strength, but they made it way too big. This is tall enough, like I'm 6'4". This is tall enough for like a freaking 7-footer. Yeah, this is so big. Yeah, so they made this so tall for someone like giant. They made this for giants. Well, this works out in our favor because we don't, well, some of my girls will do it upright, but we actually use it for laying back. So here's what we do. We lay back and it's like basically frontal plane hip abduction now, okay? Now it's frontal plane, you're working the glute medius. It's brilliant for that. We add yoga blocks here so that your feet touch for more active range of motion. I would say this is my favorite glute medius machine. It's hit or miss with the girls. Most of them love it, but some don't. Some prefer the other machines, which I will show you. Okay, now we've got the free motion. Now, I'll use this for delt work. You can use it for upper body work. Obviously, you can do all the kickbacks, you know, and standing abduction. You can do kneeling. There's a bunch of different types of kickbacks off of here. With the kickbacks, we tend to use the BC Strength strap. It just makes things easier. All right, moving on. Here we have the seated hip abduction machine. Now this is the Life Fitness. This is the same one I have in Vegas, and it's not as good as my Cybex from San Diego. My San Diego unit is the best ever. This one doesn't start till here, so we always put pads or blocks in between our legs, but we do two distinct types of abduction. We do leaning forward and we do bridged. When you do bridged, you're working the glute medius. When you lean forward a lot, you're working more gluteus maximus. This is a staple. Every gym should have one of these. Now this is the gluteator. I wish I invented this. People ask me if I invented this. I say no, it's so genius though. The only thing we do differently, we do this differently than other gyms because they will lay back and they will do it just like this. They will go like this, sit against it like that, okay? Now, we will put pads here. I want knees touching together and I want knees touching the chest. So what we do is we will put our feet up high and lean forward like this. So knees to chest and knees touching. So you want your knees come up as high as possible. When you do it like this is simultaneous hip extension and hip abduction. But check out the angle. It's more, I would say it's more hip extension than hip abduction. When you do it like this is a lengthened partial for the glutes. The thing is, this is why it's so genius. When you're in really deep hip flexion, okay? When you're way down deep, you're stretching the glutes, but the glutes don't activate well. The reason why they don't activate well is because the adductor magnus has a better moment arm. It has better leverage in very deep hip flexion. Well, when you produce abduction at the same time, I think it would take a little bit of the adductor out of it and focus more on the glutes. So it's a lengthened partial stretch position work for the glutes, but it's even more effective because it's gonna take some adductor out of it and focus more on the glutes. It's genius. We have all these protocols we do off this, but I think this is such an awesome glute machine. It's hard to find. Every good glute gym should have a gluteator. Now we have the Max Pump 3D abductor. They made this and then they quit making it, and it's so awesome. It's a lot like the gluteator. The only thing is, if you look at the direction, it's a little bit more abduction and a little bit less hip extension. I love these. I actually sit straight up into them, and it really works the stretch position too. So I have this in San Diego as well. The girls love it. And then finally, we have the Glute Builder 3D abductor. And what I love about this is this seat moves. So you can go all the way down. So when you do it from here and you do abduction this way, okay, it's mostly glute medius, it's upper glutes. About half of my girls like it this way and half of the girls bridge up on it and they do it bridged. But they love this machine, but you can also move this seat forward. You really don't have to move the seat though, you could just lean forward. But if you wanted to, the seat goes up to right here. You could lean forward even more than this if you wanted. And then we have the Hammer Strength multi-hip machine. We do two different types of kickbacks of this. We do lengthened partial kickbacks where we go way up high. Okay, I have to put this down for me, but you get that leg really high up. And here you have to load up really heavy. You have to load up like the whole stack. You have to pin weight to the stack. And you just do this range and you're working that glute in the deep stretch. We don't bother locking out because it gets weird when you're focused up here and then you come all the way down. It rolls up too high on the thigh. So we only do the lengthened position, but then we will also kind of go to here and just focus more on the squeeze like this. So we do two types of kickbacks. We also do abduction like this. It takes some getting used to because you're angled this way, but that works the glute medius very well. And then we've got all of our benches. Here we have the glute slide. This is like a band loaded device, okay? And you can do different abduction exercises off of it, and you can make it really, really hard to do. You can also do different kickbacks off of it. I like this for athletes especially because it gets you winded when you use this. We've got the tripod graveyard. This is how you know it's an influencer gym. Here we've got the infamous power pole. This lets you do standing hip thrusts. It's amazing, but everyone thinks that I'm either a biomechanical moron or just posting for clickbait, because if you have a pretty woman do this, it'll get millions of views and then people will be like, what a stupid device. It's actually amazing. I wish I invented it. This was invented by Chuck Vogelpohl, a badass powerlifter from Westside under Louis Simmons. And my girls like kneeling hip thrusts. I like standing, but oh my God, the lockout is hard. It's amazing. Finally, we have all of our pads, all of our wedges, all of our mats, all of our sponges. Here we have all of our ankle weights, our BC Strength ankle weights, you know, the BC Strength sponges, all the different pads, because a good glute gym should have tons of accessories, tons of them. Glute loops, bands, sponges, pads, mats, and you gotta replace these regularly because they don't last. And that's where I'm going, man, some of these gyms are making so much profit and they don't buy any of these special pieces that really help you train more effectively. And like, just invest a couple $100 a month. Just know that you're gonna have to spend a couple $100 a month to replace these things. The ladies are gonna appreciate it because it makes their glute training more effective. So yeah, if you're a gym owner, expect to have to keep up with these glute training specialty accessory fees, but ultimately it'll make you stand out from the competition and retain and build new members. All right, here we've got Masa. Masa's probably my best friend. Masa or Brad Schoenfeld are my two best friends. Yeah, this is Masa, Akbari Mare, Persian. She's made it to the Arnold. In my opinion, she should have been in the Olympia. Maybe she will one day, but she's a badass bikini competitor. And I think it was because of her that I just blew up. In like 2018, I started training her in San Diego and everyone wanted to be like Masa. And she helped me get so many bikini competitors. All of a sudden in San Diego, I'm training like 30 bikini competitors because of her. So she lives in Miami now. She comes and trains here. But I also have my quotes. So on this mural of Carly, the thrust is a must. That's one of my popular quotes. I got 3 popular quotes, okay? The second is, abs are made in the kitchen, but glutes are made in the gym. I said that when I was filming for my promo for Strong Curves. I said it, I was like, whoa. And then finally we have bathroom number 1. We actually have 5 bathrooms in here. We went overboard on the bathroom. So remember, for beginners, it makes it so convenient the way this is set up because I say, do one thing in the hip thrust room, one thing in the squat lunge room, one thing in the hinge pull room, and 2 things in the abduction kickback room, and it's a perfect workout. Makes things so simple. If they follow that, it ensures that they're gonna develop the upper and lower glutes. They're also gonna develop the quads, the hams, and the adductors. So it's such a brilliant system. That is a system I came up with like over 15 years ago. And I've been using it ever since. I'm very proud to have the very first glute gym, the very first glute squad. I had the first Glute Lab. The Glute Lab was the very first glute gym ever made. I'm very proud that I started the first kind of like glute training equipment with the Scorcher and like the bench of the hip thruster. Then we started making the glute loop, the T-bell, that were kind of like other people's ideas, but like then people ran with it. Now you have Booty Builder and Glute Builder really specializing in glute training equipment too. And they're doing what I'm trying to do, build your own line of equipment so that gyms can buy 5 pieces of glute training equipment. I really recommend Booty Builder and Glute Builder for this purpose. They're ahead of the curve, and now, how nice is it for the women? Bros have always had all their machines for their arms, their delts, their lats, their pecs, even their quads and hammies and calves even. And a gym will have all these pieces for every single body part except glutes. And now, because of BC Strength and Booty Builder and Glute Builder, now you can have stations, glute stations. You can buy 6 pieces of equipment and be fully loaded so that the women are happy too. And a lot of times women are 50% of the gym membership, but it's a male gym owner and they don't care about women, which is annoying because women speak up, say, we want the BC Strength Thruster Pro. And if they don't do it, say, just keep hounding them and saying this is BS. Eventually someone in the neighborhood will build another gym, better glute equipment, and you can leave and never look back because it's not fair that they have a million pieces of equipment for men with nothing for glutes for the ladies. And the men should be doing glutes too. Okay, now let's move on to the quad room. Here we've got the Cybex hack squat. This is my favorite hack squat. It's harder, it's more vertical. Like I have a hack squat in San Diego that's less vertical and I can go way heavier on it. But yeah, 4 plates here is really hard. 4 plates is just as hard as 5 plates per side in San Diego. All right, now we've got the Titan plate-loaded leg press machine. Obviously, this is a lot cheaper than like a selectorized leg extension machine, but I'm okay with keeping it. Why? Because done this way, it's gonna work the shortened position. So here, there's not much torque. Here, there's all the torque, right? So you can work the quads in a shortened position. If you wanted to work the quads in a lengthened position, then you could put this here, okay? And now, there's a lot of torque, and now you come up, and then the torque reduces. So it's more torque in the stretch, less torque in the squeeze, but you need a trainer or a lifting partner to be able to do that. But you can also do seated leg curls in a similar fashion. I don't like the seated leg curl version that much. Yeah, a lot of people are looking for cheaper ways to do leg extensions. This Titan unit is good for that. This is the body solid, I call it the lever squat, the plate loaded squat or lunge. We did 2 things. Number 1, we took off this piece in here. There's just a metal sheet. When people people do lunges, they bang their knee on the metal. So we just removed it all together. But the other thing we did, you can see these holes. We re-drilled the holes so you could go deeper. The original holes were here. So if I wanted to do squats on this original body solid, crazy because this is my favorite plate loaded squat, but the way they had it, it was my least favorite. Because if I was here, here's where it would touch, right there. Okay, right here, it would touch. So I could just squat to right here. But what if you're 5 feet tall? If you're like a woman that's like this tall, they would squat down to here and just do like a little partial. They couldn't use full range at all because the crash bars were set so high. So we re-drilled the holes. It's really hard to do this. I did this in San Diego and I did it here. And now you can go deep. The good news is that we're working on this same type of unit for BC Strength. So we will be selling a unit like this soon that's a little bit better. Okay, obviously we have squat stands. This is a Rogue. I do like the BC Strength a little bit more. I'll show you that in a minute. We have a vertical Smith machine. This is Nautilus, old school. I like vertical more for squats and lunges. I like the angled Smith machines more for hip thrusts and glute bridges and frog pumps. For hip thrusts, you put your head here and you thrust this way. For frog pumps and glute bridges, you put your head here and you pump this way. So you set up on different sides depending on which exercise you're doing. Now we have the seated hip adduction machine. This is mostly for me. I love having big adductors. You also have the gym pin here because I can do the stack for 70 reps here. So this lets you load on extra plates. I have two 100-pound plates, but yeah, I have freakishly strong adductors. So this is mostly for me. I do have a couple of girls who like doing it. I should mention also here, next to the Smith machine, we always have our aerobic step and risers for step ups, things like that. Usually we have BC blocks, which I'll show you in that room. We also have the BC Strength box squat box. And this is nice because you can go 12 inches, you can go 14 inches, you can go 16 inches. So suits people from all heights with box squats. If I'm doing sumo box squats where I sit way back, I do 16. But if I have a shorter woman, she'd do 12. We have the Titan single leg squat stand here. This is great for Bulgarian split squats. It's a staple. Everyone should have a Bulgarian split squat stand. Sorinex was the very first to make it. Back in the day, they made it 20 years ago, I bet. Now you can find it other places, but this is the Booty Builder V squat. You can do V squats this way and face this way. I don't have a single client that does that though. Why? Because this is a glute gym. My girls want glutes, so they face this way. If you sit in this way and face forward, you're building the quads. It's really, really hard for the quads. But if you face this way, glutes, and you can do squats, you can do good mornings, but the most brutal exercise is a single leg squat. Stand in here on one leg and sit back. Such crazy amounts of torque in the stretch position. We love it. All right, now we have the Technogen leg press. In my Vegas and San Diego locations, I have the old school Cybex squat press. That's my favorite leg press, but this is tied for my favorite leg press. What I like about it is you can go hole 1 to hole 10. Most of my girls use hole 1 and they put this pad here and this lets them go deeper. And they do leg press. If they're trying to work quads, they put their feet lower. If they're trying to work glutes, they put their feet higher. But we do lots of single leg and double leg press off here. For myself, I use this. I do quad dominant deep leg presses. I do glute dominant leg presses. I do single leg presses, but I also do partials. So I also have my records that I have off hole 3 and then off of hole 5. And then I also do band leg presses. I actually put a BC Strength band around here, and I wedge it in here. And it just makes the lockout so much harder. I would say that's the most brutal thing one of the most brutal things we do here is the banded leg presses. So hard. And then finally, the last thing in the quad and squat room is the Atlantis pendulum squat. This is so much quad. I would probably say the hack squat is the best quad builder, and then the pendulum squat is a close second. Some people would say this is best, but this is so much quads. Some girls who put their feet up higher feel it in their glutes. Some girls feel hack squats a lot in their glutes. I feel this all in my quads though, but yeah, this is such a legendary quad machine. Interesting, a lot of the ladies love it. They love this more than the hack squat. A lot of them do this and it feels good on their knees. I do want to show off the BC Strength plates and plate rack. So this is a BC Strength plate rack, and these BC Strength plates are so convenient. How nice that you just grip them. They are a little more expensive, but every gym owner that buys these, they tell me, Bret, I love your plates. So much nicer than having, the metal plates that rust and they just are hard to maneuver. Even cleaning up is so much easier with these plates. When you're cleaning up people's plates, you just grab the handle, slide them in. Okay, I've also got a lot of belts, a lot of different bands and gizmos. We've got bathroom number 2 and 3 here. And we've got Bret's mini fridge, where I have my diet ginger ales, some energy drinks, my yogurts, my peanut butter bars. Okay, now let's move on to the hamstring room. First off, I want to show you the mural. This is Ashley Hodge. This is her first time pulling 405. It was New Year's 2020. I flew in from Vegas late on New Year's night, and we met up before midnight to deadlift, and look how happy she is. So now she's gonna probably pull like 440 in her next competition, hopefully. Now she can triple this with a stiff bar. This is a deadlift bar you can see, which bends, which makes it a little bit easier. Now this is my most popular quote of all time. If you think lifting weights is dangerous, try being weak. Being weak is dangerous. It's funny because you can Google that and you see all kinds of people claiming it as their own quote. And I said that for a T Nation article in, I believe, 2011, but this is probably my most popular quote of all time. I didn't realize it would take off like that, but yeah, people loved it. Sometimes you just say something and it takes off. This is our deadlift platform. If you want people to take squats seriously, you gotta have squat stands or a power rack. If you want people to take deadlifts seriously, you need a deadlift station where the bar is loaded. You've got your deadlift lever to help with racking and unracking weights, and you need a chalk bin next to it so that they can chalk up their hands. And you need lots of plates nearby. You do these things and it makes deadlifting so much more convenient. Here in the hamstring room, I've got the BC Strength Hammy Track and Roller. Sorenex is the first one to make this guy. They called it the Glute Ham Roller. I take partial credit for this because I was telling them, you guys gotta use rollerblade wheels for my Scorcher. And Bret Soren, he's now the owner of Sorenex, and he's like, no, Bret, the rollerblade wheels are too hard. We'll just get plastic wheels. I go, Bret, that's a deal breaker. You need rollerblade wheels. It makes them so much nicer, and they'll last forever, and it makes the rolling so smooth. So he sourced them, and then he's like, Bret, you were right, these rollerblade wheels are amazing. They started putting these on everything, and it made him come up with the idea of the Glute Ham Roller, which is brilliant. Now all the companies are knocking them off. I feel like Sorenex has gotten knocked off so much in their time. They've been so innovative. I'm a huge fan of Sorenex. My only problem with this is when you do it, you'll start moving you get all squirrely. So I made this track, and I had my dad, because I don't know how to weld. I went to Home Depot, bought some angled iron, had my dad weld it together, and now you just use this track and you stay symmetrical. It's such an awesome hamstring device, and the stronger you get, you can do them single leg, or you can elevate yourself and pull yourself up a ramp, which makes it brutal. I can't do them, but my girls can. My girls can even do single leg elevated, which is brutal. But if you have like a garage gym and you want to do like more leg curl variations, this is such an awesome way. We also do different types of lunges and like kneeling, rolling lunges. It's very versatile. Now we've got the seated leg curl. This is Life Fitness. I very much like this model. Lets you move through a big range of motion. We also have the Paramount lying leg curl. I love it. It's a great lying leg curl. A lot of these are old school models. I love old school equipment. Now we have the BC Strength 45-degree hyper. I spent 2 years prototyping this. Here's what I love about the BC Strength. This is less expensive to ship because we made it in 2 parts. So it's not one giant unit, but you save money on shipping that way. You order a BC Strength 45-degree hyper, you'll get it within 10 days, but usually within like 5 business days, because we ship it the next day, okay? I told you earlier, I have 2 clients here that are 4'10". They use this with ease. I think I had a 4'9" girl use it once. So this fits like 4'9", 4'10". 5-footers are always frustrated with glute training. They can't use most back extensions. They can use the BC Strength. Now it also telescopes way up, and you could, I use hole 8, okay? This is where I use it, hole 8. But it goes to hole 10. So I'm 6'4". Yeah, here's hole 10, as you can see. So I could be a lot taller. I think I could have at least like a 6'10" person use this, and they'd be fine here. But what's so cool about this is that these bands, the way we made these guys, so conducive to bands. So I first did this with my hip thruster device. The reason I made a hip thrust station is so you could do banded hip thrusts, including bar plus band. And I used to put the pegs straight out like this, and the bands would kind of wrap around it. Like picture this being straight out, and they'd go at an angle, and it would kind of warp the bands a little bit. So then I started making the T handle for the hip thruster, and I made the little T handle for the band attachment. Well, I first made this in a T, and then I realized if I angle these down, it prevents them from slipping out. So this is so nice for banded 45-degree hypers. We just keep the bands there. Those little things that clients love. So if you're looking for a 45-degree hyper, in my opinion, BC Strength is by far the best. However, now they're making selectorized and plate-loaded devices, Booty Builder and Glute Builder, which I will show you in a second. I do want to show the BC Strength blocks and T-bell station. You can do squats off this, you can do stiff leg deadlifts. I will tell you the squats, when you do squats with this, they're so glute dominant. You can just sit back, you can do such glute dominant squats, but you can also do, you know, stiff leg deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts. It's for people who don't tolerate squats and deads well. A lot of times if you center the loading and let it go in between their legs, they tolerate it so much better. I can't say enough about this station. I wish every gym had these. These get used all the time. Okay, moving on, we got the loaded 45-degree hyper station. So first we have Booty Builder. This has band attachments. It's actually a really small footprint. It lets you go really deep. I love this thing. My ladies love it. You could also do kickbacks off of it if you wanted. You can do kickbacks, but if you're a gym owner, trust me, you buy this, the women will love it. The men like it too, because it's annoying. Like me, I can do a 100-pound dumbbell for 30 reps. I've done a 150-pound dumbbell for 22 reps. It's annoying dragging weight around, so this makes it so much more convenient. The only problem is I'm freakishly strong at these. I have done the stack plus bands for 22 reps, okay? That's my PR. If I wanted to use like loading for 10 rep max, then I have to use the Glute Builder, plate loaded one. Now, what's better, the Booty Builder or the Glute Builder? Okay, what I like about Booty Builder is it's selectorized. It's so convenient. You just pop the weight in, done. With Glute Builder, you gotta load it. So 9 plates is 360. I just say the apparatus weighs 45. Yeah, I've done 440 pounds for 10 reps. I am freakishly strong at this. So if you're freakishly strong at 45-degree hypers, you're fine with this. There's band pegs here to make the lockout harder. It also comes with rack with storage, with plate storage. But the reason why my women love this machine is because you can put your legs here and do straight leg 45-degree hypers, but you can also bend your knees here and do bent leg 45-degree hypers. It's funny, when I first applied for my patent in 2006 for the Scorcher, for the hip thruster, I designed a bent leg 45-degree hyper, a bent leg reverse hyper model, literally 19 years later, and it's finally coming to fruition. And it's so nice to see my friend Arturo be the one that made it, because he's so innovative. And then Hakon is my friend, he's the owner of Booty Builder. I feel with Hakon and Arturo, they're just renovating glute training around the world. I hope that BC Strength can join in on the mix and have more plate loaded devices too. It's just hard to do. It's taking us time. We got the Hammer Strength. Now it's funny, this is called the ground-based squat lunge. We don't do squats or lunges off of here. We do deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, stiff leg deadlifts, single leg deadlifts. This is so nice for balance issues because, yeah, let's say you have stability issues. If you load up the plates here, it's easier at the top, hardest at the bottom. See, this one stays consistent. So if I really want to load the stretch position, I can come down, you know, boom, that is so much loading on this hamstring as I come up. So I love this machine for stable single leg Romanian deadlift and stiff leg deadlift variations, but a lot of my girls will do double leg off here. This is the Glute Builder. I don't know what it's called, the deadlift or split squat machine. But yeah, you can do loaded split squats, you can do deadlifts off it. We don't use this that much just because we have the Pit Shark and we have the Hammer Strength. This is the Rogue Reverse Hyper. I have the classic Reverse Hyper from Westside in my San Diego gym. I've had that since 2003. This unit's a little bit smaller. Thing about the Reverse Hyper, I love them in theory, but it's like kettlebell swings. We can use the T-bell and do heavy swings with them, but they're just so much cardiovascular demand. You know, you gotta get it going and then they're better for high reps. Sometimes we put extra cushion here because it takes a lot out of you, but the Reverse Hyper is legendary. Louis Simmons made it popular. We don't use it that much though. In fact, in San Diego, it's always the workstation. We have the plyo box here and people work off of it. And it's always where people set their purses and stuff in San Diego. Here I put it away from the door. But yeah, everyone hangs their stuff off it. Anyway, what I like about this is you can climb underneath and do pendulum quadruped hip extensions. You can do donkey kicks if you kneel down underneath it. I started doing those because I didn't have a kickback machine in my first gym called Lifts. In 2006, I was doing that, and this was a staple. Everyone did pendulum quadruped donkey kicks or quadruped hip extensions, either bent leg or knees extending. That was a staple in my first gym. But you can do this one leg at a time or two legs at a time. This is a great exercise if you have a glute imbalance. Just do the one leg because it doesn't work as much hamstring and adductor. It's mostly all glute. All right, now I've got the Hammer Strength kneeling leg curl. This is my favorite kneeling leg curl machine. I like it because I'm tall and I can kind of bend over as I do it. You know, I can do these bent over whereas if you're short, you'll be more upright. I can make it a little bit more like a seated leg curl if I wanted. Anyway, this is such a good device. I love it. This Elite FTS glute ham raise. I like this Elite FTS unit because it goes tall here. A lot of the ones I saw in like CrossFit gyms, this stays low and it's so much easier. It's like you want to make it hard, put this up high, it's markedly higher. But we don't do as many glute ham raises as I used to back in the day because we do more Nordic ham curls. This here is the BC Strength Nordic. I designed this after the Sornex model. See, Rogue started making a flat grounded model and Sornex used to make theirs like this. And I'm like, I missed the Sornex model, it was better. You want it to be elevated. So I made it a little bit smaller than Sornex's model, a little bit lighter for shipping, but yeah, you want it up high because if you try to stay in full hip extension like this, okay, then a lot of times people sink like a ship. You stay up the whole time, they get to about here, halfway down and they sink. But if you let people lean a little bit, just a little bit, and then they keep that lean, they can lower it under control. And then see here, I can still get full knee extension and then come back up. So I really like the elevated models more. And then finally, we've got the Pit Shark. This is legendary. This is the best belt squat in my opinion. I've used them all. I hear all these coaches and trainers and people saying that they made a better belt squat machine, and I don't agree. I think Pit Shark made the best ever. Shout out to them. I have one of these in San Diego. I feel like you actually see more deadlifts off of this than belt squats now. And I think I had a lot to do with that because I've always had a seated row handle on here because Westside was doing that back in the day. They were doing belt squats, but they also did deadlifts with the handle. So I started doing that with my glute squads. And yeah, we do more deadlift variations than belt squats, but I love them for belt squats too. It's such a classic machine. Now I'm gonna show you the free weight room. We've got the Rogue sled. This makes it super convenient because you can push it one way, throw these in, push it the other way. Got my dumbbell rack. These go up to hundreds, but I got 150s right here, which I use for 45-degree hypers. And if I have wrist straps, I do one-arm rows with them. I've also got 110s and 115s. All right, so here we've got our glute benches. We got the Rogue sled. We got the dumbbell rack. Here we got this dip station. This is body solid, I love it. Sometimes it's a little wobbly, but it's such a nifty dip station. We've got the BC Strength parallel bars. The LeBaire Equalizer was the first one of these, so ingenious. When we started making it, I just made sure it was extra tall because you don't want to touch down on these. All right, seated shoulder press bench. We've got sturdy bench. We've got this inclinable bench. Now, here we've got a bunch of specialty bars. There's an old school rackable cambered bar. I even shaved these off right here so it doesn't rub. I use this all the time for low bar because it doesn't hurt my arms. Low bar sometimes irritates my arms. We've got the safety squat bar. We've got this football or Swiss bar or whatever you call it, neutral grip bar. We've got the hex bar, easy bar, and then the buffalo bar. Now here's the BC Strength glute rack. Now it's not all put together, but this is my favorite rack, and here's why. Look at all these numbers, look at the detail. You have numbers all the way up to hole 34, so you can learn your hole. You got this guy that fits in right here if you want. And with this, you can do hip thrust, band hip thrust, single leg hip thrust. You got two different bar holders within it and high quality. Look at that, strength, so quality. These are all numbered too, so you can do a lot of things off this. If I just had a garage gym, I would get the glute rack and buy all the accessories with it. I have my chains here, different like landmine and different accessories. Here I have the incline press. Here I have the Rogue bench press station. I love it. I bought this off of World Gym Scottsdale in, I think it was like early 2000. I bought this off of them. This thing's so old. All right, here's where I store my camera equipment and stuff. Here I've got a welding station for my prototyping, but this is bathroom 4 and 5. This is the bathroom that my glute squad takes pictures in because of this. The lighting is unbelievable, so they always take their selfies in here. I really like these signs though. Take a deep breath and remember who the f you are. Never be ordinary, never be mediocre, be a wolf, be a lion. Take no set goals, smash them, destroy them. Be a strong version of you. Show people who the f you are. Never apologize for being awesome. You go, mother. Now in this room, I have my two idols, my two heroes. My number one all-time hero is Arnold. This is his quote, you can have results or excuses, not both. That's one of Arnold's famous quotes. And then I have The Rock here, and The Rock is saying, always be the hardest worker in the room. And I love that, such legend. So cool to me to have murals of my two heroes. I just bought this. This is a ladder raise station. Revolt makes it, kind of cool. You could say, why not just use dumbbells? But I like equipment. Now we have the Life Fitness lateral raise machine. I've gotten so strong at this, I can put on 200 pounds with these 2.5, so 210. I've done 12 reps. My shoulders have grown in the last year. I also have this preacher curl machine by Precor, and I love it. It's so comfortable. I will say it doesn't work the stretch position as much. It's kind of harder up here, but my biceps got the biggest they've ever been just because I was able to do more volume. It just allows me to do more volume of curls, okay? Now I've got different marker boards, skeleton, different stuff for filming podcasts, all the different ring lights and lights for filming. Oh, here's a desk and a backdrop for some of my YouTube videos. Looks like a loft, but it's actually just a backdrop. Okay, now I have the upper body room, the seated row machine. This is a plate loaded lat pull down machine. Here we've got our chest supported row. Here we've got the hammer strength decline press. In Las Vegas, I have the hammer strength super incline press, and I like that more than here. I wish I had them both. Here I've got a treadmill and a Stairmaster. Love having these. The ladies love it. These get used all the time. Okay, I've got a Life Fitness lat pull down machine. In all my gyms, I've got this mag grip. It's my favorite because I like chin ups more than pull downs, but I also have all the different pull down attachments. Here I've got plate loaded shoulder press. I've got a pec deck and reverse pec deck. This is our prototyping area. So right now I'm trying to experiment with the BC Strength Thruster Pro and see if I can make it kind of like where you can load up the top position versus the bottom position more, and kind of hard to figure out. But yeah, we're always trying to make new pieces and experiment. I just got this big fridge, so I'm gonna be putting more food and stuff in here. But yeah, here we've got mini fridge, microwave, water, and here's our storage area. This is our bean bag from Love Sack. Everyone loves this little blanket. Sometimes the girls will take naps here when they're trying like filming content and stuff. And then we have a plate loaded upper chest machine and another plate loaded shoulder press machine. The last thing I want to say about Glute Lab, I wanted to have super long AstroTurf track down the middle in case you wanted to push the sled, in case you want to do walking lunges, in case you want to do lateral band walks or farmer's walks or athletic stuff. How cool would that be? And I love it. When I got this place, it had walls separating everything. So I opened up the walls and made it 6 bays. My landlord loves me. He wants me to rent the other unit too. So I may get the 4th room and have 8 bays, but I kind of love it as is. The Booty by Bret neon sign, the Glute Lab neon sign, all the different black, the dark colors, all the lighting. I spent 300 grand on all the renovations, okay? And that's not including the equipment. I made the bathrooms way better. I just made everything so much better here, from lighting to painting to floors and mirrors and murals and all that. When I got this place, it was just cement and dust. So I'm very proud of how this looked and how it's designed, but I just want to throw out there how expensive it was, because yeah, a lot of people want their own Glute Lab. A lot of people wish I franchised. They say, Bret, I want to build a Glute Lab. Well, I would estimate all this equipment would be at least like a couple $100 grand, and the renovations were a few $100 grand. So yeah, it'd be $500,000 if you wanted something like this. So I believe each room is 1,500 square feet. So this is like 4,500 square feet. I have the option of making it 6,000 square feet, but right now I have all the bathrooms I need. What would be cool is to have like a soundproof podcasting room and like my YouTube setup there permanently with all the lights there, so I just sit down and record. Maybe that's for down the road. I'm kind of out of room. If I had to get more equipment, I would love to have a couple more quad machines in here. I feel like I have every glute machine I want. Maybe I would want the Prime Kickback. It looks cool. I've just never used it. But I've worked the last almost 20 years to be able to afford this and live this lifestyle. I hope this motivates a lot of you youngsters watching this, because yeah, if you would have told me 20 years ago you're gonna have your own gym, I don't even charge my members. I haven't made it official gym yet. I just let select people train here for free. I got a squad, I quit taking on new people, and that's what I do for San Diego as well, because I make my money online through Booty by Bret, through BC Strength, and so this is just fun for me. I come to the gym, I can work out myself, I can film social media content, but I also train all these people and they love me. I train them for free, so they all love me, and they're never annoyed at me for wearing jorts and flip-flops and tank tops and not being organized and showing up late. If I was charging everyone for training, they'd definitely be annoyed. So I've showed you Glute Lab 4 Lauderdale. Now let's check out my Florida home. So I've showed you the gym. now I want to show you my house. So if you recall from my cribs in Las Vegas several years ago, I had a Toyota Tacoma. It was a really shitty one. Now I have a new Toyota Tacoma. I got one with the sunroof, the moonroof. Yeah, I think it was like 70 grand, but this is by far the nicest car I've ever had. I just don't care about cars. I thought about getting a G-Wagon. I thought about getting like the Lamborghini SUV, but I just don't care about cars. But yeah, come inside. Come. Beautiful house on the water. I will take you on a tour, but the most important, the coolest thing about this house is the view, because I live right on the water. And you can see we have, yeah, amazing pool, jacuzzi, grass, palm trees, right on the water. And it's January. I went swimming today. I was 2 hours, pacing across the deck in the sun, getting a tan in January. In the middle of winter, priceless. So I still have Skelly. I got the Gargoyle. These are the same ones I have in Las Vegas. The little mini fridge stored with Canada Dry Ginger Ale. I'm turning a lot of people on to them. Zero calories. This is like alcohol for parties. I don't really drink. Speaker for parties. This is the same couch I have in all of my places. I've got this same couch. My San Diego home, my Las Vegas home. It's a Lovesac couch. These are my favorite. This fits a lot of people. Also have this same TV everywhere. It's a Sony Bravia with a Sonos sound system. So your couch and your TV setup, in my opinion, are very, very important, because if you love being at home, your home makes you feel good, and you love watching TV, kicking on the couch, it actually saves you money throughout the year. When you're at home, you're not spending. Come downstairs. Here we have guest room number 1. Incredible view. This actually has the most movable bed. Looks can be deceiving. This bed is priceless, okay? Then we have bathroom here and a little room down here, little guy. So that's the downstairs. This is kind of where I film things. You might recognize this area from some of my YouTube videos or from some of my Instagram videos. Filming region. Here we have guest bedroom number 3, still with a nice view. Huge closet, bathroom. Okay, now we have the kitchen here. Very open. I always show what we got here. We got lots of candy, cereal, nuts, dried fruit, same as I always have. We got yogurts, cheese, peanut butter bars, pizza leftovers, milk. Yeah, I'm sure you were expecting healthier, but that's how I get the gains here. Okay, now this here is the relaxation room. Okay, here's another pantry, snacks. Okay, good vibes only. We've got a massage table. We have a dry sauna. If you recall, in my Vegas house, I have a steam room. This is what gets used the most, because this is a red light infrared sauna. So you turn this on. These are all the red lights. This gets up to like 170 degrees. For red light, that's crazy, but I also have this guy, and this here is red, infrared, and blue light. So we'll aim this there too. So you get it from all over. You get infrared light, you get red light, you get blue light, and you can hook up to Bluetooth speakers in here. You can turn on lights, you can turn on LED lights. We'll have the speakers going. You can play relaxation music, you can play party music. Now this is also a dry sauna if you wanted it to be, but we just use it for the red light. Also, if you wanted lights up here, you can have these little guys. This thing's amazing. All right, washer and dryer room. Got another bathroom, the one I use the most. And finally, let's go upstairs. We have guest bedroom number 4. And finally, this is my bedroom, the master. So I'll show you the bathroom first. We've got really nice bathtub. We've got dual shower heads. And we have the bidet. Cannot recommend these enough. Why doesn't America embrace bidet? I don't get it. Okay, now, as per my closet, I just want to show you, I do have a million pairs of jorts. So many jorts, this is not even all of them. And my bedroom, this, fortunately, there's not much magic happening here, but you could imagine. The view, another mini fridge over there, sound machines, and you've got this amazing view. They're building next door, so that looks a little weird, but yeah, this is my view here. So I've shown you my gym, I've shown you my house. Now I politely ask you to get the out.